guys, it's Graham from Mowgli Adventures, and today we're going to learn how to wire our solar panels in series, that is one after the other after the other. You're going to need a few tools. You're going to need a bit of red tape, you're going to need a multimeter and understand how to read DC voltages. You might need a pair of thin nose pliers, and you are going to need some MC4 connectors and a bit of cable. Now I have an MPPT controller here. This one is quite a large one, but it doesn't really matter. You do need to understand the controller that you're going to use to connect the panels together. First things first with the panel is when they arrive is check that they are not broken or damaged in any way, that the glass is not shattered, and that you understand the size of the open voltage circuit current value. When you add these together, you're adding the voltages together. So if you have 4 panels and they are 25 volts each, for example, then you're going to have 100 volts. So you need to make sure that your controller can handle the combined open circuit voltages of all the panels that you're going to put in the array. So the other thing you also need is a inline fuse. Here is an inline fuse that I've got for MC4 connectors, but you can use a blade fuse if it's big enough, or the big A&L fuses as well. It doesn't make any difference, just need to make sure that the fuse size is big enough to accommodate the current of the array that will protect the cable size that you're going to use. Right, so before we go and put these on our roofs, we should really check that the panels work. And it's very, very simple. All we're going to do is use our multimeter, set it to the voltage reading, DC, probably higher than the open circuit voltage of the panel, which is 25 volts, so I'm going to have to go to a bigger range. And we're going to put the panels in the sun, and we put our probes on these 2 cables to see what the output is. So first thing we're going to do is we set our multimeter, in this case to 200 volts DC. Taking the probes, contact with them. And when you get it right, you'll see that I get a 21.6 volts out of here, which is what it's telling me it should be producing. It's a grey dank day, so I'm only getting 21, I could get up to 24. So that's great. Now, if you get the probes the wrong way around, if you shove the positive lead of your multimeter into the negative cable and you put your negative probe into the positive output of the solar panel, all that will happen is it'll read a negative number. So it doesn't really matter, it's just telling you that the panel's working and it's collecting energy from the sun and converting it into electrons. So I'm going to give you an example of how to connect, in this case, 3 panels together. So say this is my primary panel. I've got a positive and a negative cable. I'm going to leave the positive out for the moment because that's going to connect through to the controller at some stage. And I'm going to use the negative cable of this panel, and I'm going to connect it to the next panel in the array, and I'm going to connect it to its positive terminal. So we're going from a negative to the positive on this panel here. The MC4 connectors just push together, and they're a waterproof connection, so you don't need to worry about them on the roof of your van. And then to add the next panel, I take the negative cable from this panel and I connect it to the positive of this panel too. And again, MC4 connector, just push them together, the barbs catch it and it's in. And that's a waterproof connection, and that's great. So now my solar array of 3 panels, which is 300 watts in this case, and about 63 volts, is sitting between this positive cable and this negative cable. Now, if you make a mistake or you want to disconnect them, a lot of people will tell you to buy a MC4 tool, which is a plastic thing, which all it does is basically allows you to release the lugs on this. Now, if I use a thin pair of snub pliers and I carefully push it in there, then it will push these probes on this terminal here in, and the thing comes apart. So you don't need to buy the actual tool. So now I've got my 3 panels connected together, and here is my solar array. I probably want to run a cable from here through my roof band and down into the van. So you're going to need some extra cable, and you're going to need some MC4 connectors to do that. So again, I put a cable on here, push it together, and run that cable through the van. Sorry, and run that cable through the gland down into the van or the building or whatever it is you're doing. So this will provide a watertight seal on the roof. Once you're through the roof, I'd suggest you put a bit of red tape on that cable, and you have a choice then. You can connect an inline fuse like this, and then you can run the cable from here through a switch. This is a simple single pole switch, and then from the switch or from the fuse, it makes no odds, or both if you want belts and braces, and then you connect it to the solar panel positive terminal here. Bear in mind, most MPPT controllers would like to be connected to the battery first before you connect the solar array. And the reason is this needs to understand the voltage it's going to convert your solar energy into the battery voltage. So read the manual first, but generally you'll find you need to connect the batteries first and then you connect the solar array. Now, a lot of MPPT controllers have screw terminals, so you've got a bare wire. My advice is put a pin crimp on the end so that the wires aren't sprayed, so that when you're putting it in to connect it, you're not releasing wires out, etc. So it's a nice and neat job. You connect that positive first, and then you connect the negative. So assuming your battery's connected, the unit's switched on, power goes in on positive, and then when you connect the negative, this unit will come alive and tell you all the information coming out of the panel. So there you have it. 3 panels in series wired into the MPPT controller via a fuse or via a fuse and a switch. Use red tape or heat shrink on the positive cables as you route the cable through the roof glands and down into your van, so that you know which is the positive side and which is the negative side, because what you don't want to do is, having connected your batteries, they then connect the solar panels in the wrong way around, because that would damage this unit, or any unit to be fair. Of course, wiring your panels in series is not the only option. You could wire them in parallel, or you could wire them in a mix of series and parallel, depending on where you live, what you're intending to do with your van or your RV, or where you're intending to go. So there's different options, and of course there's different sizes of solar arrays too. So if you don't know for sure which is right for you, you can always learn more in the Camper Van Electrics Handbook, or check out modularventures.com, and we have a whole series of information about solar panels in parallel, in series, including calculators to understand which way to go. I'm Graham, this is Modular Ventures, and thank you for watching.